So this is how to time travel, right? Is to take pictures and to leave memories like we are the future ancestors. It is about 2:15 on Saturday, January 18th. And if you are anything like me, you spent the better part of last week just watching the world burn. And for some reason, seeing it in a place that you sort of imagine is untouchable because of its wealth, like it turns out that even money can't save you from climate change. And that felt so much darker than it has felt before. And it's like the cost of living has risen to however much it costs to like make your house fireproof, which is so insane. You know, it's in these moments where you realize that death is coming for all of us. Like, and I don't mean that in a depressing way. I mean it in the sense of like, it's a great equalizer. It doesn't matter how wealthy you are, what you believe in, like the timing is never right and death is never fair. And so in that sense, because it's unfair to all of us, it's the only thing that's fair to all of us. And you know, it's true when they say that we relate more easily to one another when we share grief, when we're going through something that we can share our grieving process in. And so I find myself relating to and imagining what it would be like if I came to a house that had burned down, or what I would do if I had to evacuate my home and I could only bring with me what I could hold. And so when I watched some footage from Channel 5 News, and if you don't already know the YouTube channel, I highly recommend Andrew Callahan's work. And he went straight down to a neighborhood that had just returned from evacuation, and he was able to get two families to interview, which was profound because it was right at the moment when they had returned home and they had found out that there was nothing left. And, you know, these stories are really deep. There's like, you know, families who have lived there 40 plus years for generations. One of the questions that Andrew asks is, you know, what do you wish you could have saved? And they both have different answers and different stories, but one thing rings true, and it's that they wish they could have saved the family photographs. This is often something that comes up for me when I am taking pictures of people. You know, I'm usually asked the question like, so like, why do you take pictures? Like, what got you into photography? And I'll say, I take pictures because they're the most valuable thing in the world. And they'll usually react like, what do you mean? Like, that's not, what are you talking about? But then we see this footage from Channel 5 and we see these answers from these people returning home, and it really snaps it into place. And I usually respond to that answer. I usually say, you know, like, well, like if your house was on fire, what would you run inside to save? You know, besides pets and family members, of course, like the only thing that you cannot replace are these memories. And photographs, images, home videos, these are the only things. This is the only tool out there that actually lets you travel back in time to a moment that actually existed. So this is how to time travel, right? Is to take pictures and to leave memories like we are the future ancestors, right? And to not let algorithms rob us from a human right to record our own history. You know, I want to kind of take it back here for a second to like the question of like, how did I fall in love with photography? You know, because like everybody has a camera in their hands, right? Like why did I end up dedicating my life to it? You know, I have these strong memories as a kid where on Saturday mornings, you know, I would run down and I would go straight to the computer room and I would go to the shelf and grab one of the many well-organized family albums that my mom had created. She's a Virgo. And, you know, often the rest of the family would be like downstairs having breakfast, watching TV, Saturday morning cartoons, the whole thing. But I would be up there in my pajamas, just like devouring the same pictures over and over and over again. And it's because I just loved being able to go back in time to a place where like I was a younger age, and mind you, I'm only like 7 or 8 years old, so like it's not that much difference of time, like 4 or 5 years, to see myself in like kindergarten or pre-K, or like see my brother when he was a baby. But my favorite photo albums were the ones before I existed, right? And so from a very young age had this deep sense of like purpose, of like of time and space, and like I existed as a result of all these many different decisions to even make it possible for my parents to meet, for me even to be born. And all of these people had to have all these really beautifully diverse lives to make that happen. You know, my family photo albums only went back so far, right? And as we see from the California fires, when there's devastation, when there's war, and when there's immigration, when there's trauma, we can see it in the lack of photographs, right? And mind you, I know that photography has only existed since like the 1800s, but that's a few generations, and mine can only go back so far. And of course, photography was something that on the earlier years might have been only possible if you were in the military or it was a special occasion, but those photos did exist, right? And if you're lucky enough to have them, it really does give you a sense of who you are and where you've come from. And the only problem is that we start to lose the thread of the stories of who these people are, and the memories and the facts of their lives are lost if we do not compel ourselves to share them, you know? So since I was lucky enough to have some photo albums, I did feel like this really deep sense of a connection to a past that was broken up. Like I felt a call to sort of find those images. But more importantly, I sort of felt compelled that like, okay, well then I need to start taking as many pictures as possible so that I don't lose any of these memories, so I can hold on to these memories, because it's so easy for them to be lost. It's so easy for them to be forgotten. It wasn't until I was much older and I was taking a class in art school and college, and there was this book that came up, and this book is amazing. I'm going to put the link in the description for those of you who want to get really nerdy on photography. I highly recommend it. But even for those of you who just are like interested in how image making has sort of like shaped and informed our reality, like this is it. And I just want to pull a quote from here. It all makes sense, but it says, "People robbed of their past seem to make the most fervent picture takers at home and abroad." And so I remember reading that and I was like, dude, that's me to a T. Because it's like the loss of my own history made me understand how important it was for me to leave a history behind for the next person. And it's something I still want to do, even though I don't want to have kids. Like, it's just, it's like, it's bigger than that. And at the core of this act, at the core of taking a picture, is the brutal reality that it's all going to disappear. Like, digital clouds like iCloud will eventually like eat up your photos. I can't tell you how many photo albums I've lost to like, you know, a corrupted backed up file, or a cloud system that didn't get backed up correctly, or a hard drive that crashed. And even, you know, we see this in the California fires. Like sometimes like even the printed images are not going to last the test of time, but we still are compelled to do it and share it. What makes me so sad about hearing Gen Z say it's like cringy to post on Instagram or share on Instagram anymore, or like, is because who cares if the algorithm doesn't make images cool anymore, or people don't like it anymore? Are you really gonna let an algorithm tell you whether or not your own experience is worth capturing for your own memory? I mean, when you're on your deathbed and you're sharing memories, are you gonna wanna look through all of these photos you took of the meals that you ate? Okay, maybe if that's your thing, sure. But like, I promise you, you are going to want more photos of yourself, no matter what you looked like. Pimples and all. You're going to want photos of your friends. You're going to want to be able to return back to these memories that you kind of take for granted until it's too late. That brings me actually to a really beautiful example of social media doing the opposite of that, and actually compelling people to share some really like deep, wonderful memories and photographs of the ones that they love that are either no longer there or ones that they miss. And it comes from the most random place. Bad Bunny is this amazing musician from Puerto Rico, and if would have to be living under a rock to not know who he is. He's like literally on the WWE. Like he transcends like pop stardom. He really is somebody that is a true star. And he makes amazing music. And if you're like me, he was probably on your Spotify Wrapped back in 2020 when he was like providing all of the like club music when we were stuck inside. You know, I saw these videos popping up on my TikTok feed over and over again of sequences of people's like grandparents, people's pets over this song. And it goes, DeBÍ tirar más fotos. And I was like, okay, like, first of all, this is a jam. Second of all, these photos are bringing me to tears. So I went and looked up the song. Cut to, it took me to Bad Bunny's TikTok page, and he's like in tears watching everybody take his song and do this trend. Because if you go to the song and read the lyrics, it basically says, and I'll look them up for us, DeBÍ. And I just want to say, it was genius to make the title DeBÍ tirar más fotos. I'll put it up here. He purposely makes it caps and lowercase because I think it messes with the Google Translate, and it's like doesn't automatically translate to English. Like if it wasn't weird caps, like if you saw it on Facebook, it would automatically translate it to English. And that just feels like a very subtle way for Bad Bunny to make it for native Spanish speakers. So either you have to manually look it up or already know what it means to participate in. And that just feels very like, not exclusionary, but sort of almost like he's just like saying like, okay, this is special. Like we can preserve this. This is just for us. So I hope that I'm not like invading on something that is not meant for me. But at the same time, any opportunity to like have a pop star care about photography and sentimentality, like you best believe I'm going to like participate in that conversation. So anyways, the song, let me translate it. So the lyrics basically go, I should have taken more pictures when I had you. I should have given you more kisses and hugs whenever I could. Oh, and that just felt like a shot right to the heart in response to all of this footage of people losing everything that they own. And I don't know how the universe sort of like cultivates these sort of ebb and flow moments. And maybe it's just from where I'm standing, it feels like a call and response, like a cultural moment where there's devastation. And then out of nowhere, there's a piece of mainstream art from a musician you would expect to just continue to make club bangers, actually make an album, and not just an album, a short film that I all recommend you guys to watch right after this, or even fuck it, stop this podcast, go watch it right now. I'll put the link in the description. And it's this older gentleman, and he's like waking up in his house in Puerto Rico somewhere, and there's this like weird sort of imaginary frog, and he's talking to this little frog friend, and he's going through his like, he's reminiscing a little bit, and he's saying to him like, oh, like I wish I had taken more photos. And then this man ends up going to a local cafe where his friend used to own it, but now the sandwiches are like $30. He doesn't have enough cash to even pay for it, even though they don't take cash anyways because they're one of these like fancy new cashless registers. And I'm not going to butcher the explanation, even though I already did. I just encourage you guys to go watch the film because it's one of these moments where, okay, like the kids will be all right. There are musicians and there are cultural references and there are mainstream outlets where social media can be used to spread goodness and memory and combat these sort of intergenerational gaps that we get as for the sake of progress, you know. And I'm really excited to see the pendulum starting to swing in the zeitgeist over to a slower, more analog, more nostalgic, more in-person desire. And you know, of course it ebbs and flows, you know, like of course after the massive digital age, we're craving some slowing down and some personal experiences. And so saying all of that to say, I had to really just give my props and my just appreciation for this. First of all, an amazing album. You should just go listen to the album for its music. All of the tracks are fabulous, and listening to them in order really does paint this beautiful picture of an experience. But I mostly just want to invite you guys to consider how art and image making is an opportunity for us to preserve our own history, to practice gratitude, to be able to use tragedy as a catalyst for us to go to our grandparents and say, hey, listen, I want to digitize all of your photos. Or, hey, can I just sit with you for an afternoon and just press record on my iPhone? Which is amazing. You have a recording device on your phone. Just sit down and use it and just have your grandparent tell you their entire life for a few hours for an afternoon. You know, we are, again, future ancestors, and it's our responsibility just as much as it is our right to take the camera into our own hands and create these portals and pathways to our experiences, our lived experiences, and to make sure that there's a diverse tapestry of history that goes beyond the algorithm and that goes beyond the newsroom. You don't need anybody else's permission for that. It can be a closed system that is passed down from one generation to the next within your own bloodline, within your own family, and your own definition of family as well, right? Your friends, you know, your chosen family. I just really feel like the message is for me this week is like, I don't want to wait for my house to be on fire to know what is the most important thing for me to value. I want to live every single day as if I know that the fire is eventually going to get all of us anyways, and it is my human right to defy that inevitability with a joy-filled life that is living experience that happen to be photographed rather than living experience so that they can be photographed. It's a very different thing. It's a very, very different approach. And I just want to remind people that they have the free will to decide how to use these tools. We cannot let the algorithm be as powerful as we let it. Yes, it's helpful. Yes, I love to doom scroll. Yes, I like when it's sending me things that I like. But after a certain point, this is what this book talks about, we no longer are taking pictures of human experiences. We are using pictures as a way to tell us how we are supposed to be living. And that's where shame and comparison and all this awful stuff that can come from social media. And I've experienced that firsthand. I've, been on sets before where, we are putting 6 hours of makeup and taping and clipping into a model to make her look in a way that would just be genuinely unattainable for anybody. So I know the danger of photography just as much as I know the beautiful power and empowerment that it can have. And so it's to take responsibility for that and to say what I want to see in the world is the thing I'm going to take into my own hands. And so I'm going to spend some more time, I think, on my platforms and in my newsletter and on the podcast talking about the importance of visual literacy and talking about some of these philosophical concepts behind taking pictures and really giving people the information that I think that we deserve to have as people who spend a majority of their time communicating through videos and images. We don't grow up with media class the way that we grow up with English, and it can be a really scary breeding ground for manipulation, propaganda, just things that I think we're all seeing the consequences of in the political landscape of 2025. So, I'm going to cut it there. I have some really amazing camera recommendations for you guys in the description. If you have signed up for my newsletter, you would get the links directly to them with a breakdown of why I like them. If you haven't already subscribed to this podcast or to this channel, please do. I'm going to be posting more regularly on here and deep diving a little bit more into art and visual literacy and photography, beyond just, of course, the existing course that I am doing on the self-coaching system. So if you haven't checked that out already, there's a link in my description below to all of my templates for Notion users to use the things that I've been using as an artist and a coach to get my life organized and to get all these projects out there, including this podcast. So if that's something that interests you, please go ahead and check that out in the link in the description below. And otherwise, I will see you guys here sometime next week. More good things to come. My heart and my soul go out to every single person experiencing the devastation firsthand in California. But I feel like I could probably say that for most places in the world right now. And so I find that the best way to combat that is to just live really well and really out loud. So thank you all for joining with me today to do that. And I hope, if anything, this just makes you feel like you have just as much of a right to share your story. Don't let people make you feel dumb and stupid for wanting a podcast or posting a photo on Instagram or sharing your ideas. We only have one life, and you have been given one, and so it's important. Point blank, period. Doesn't matter how many listeners do you have. It matters the quality of the experience that you're cultivating, and, you know, the future that you're changing by providing a resource that maybe you needed in the past, you know? So lots of love to you guys, and see you on the next one.